I don't know when that is. I don't pay any attention to that because it's completely out of my ball. It's not in my ballywick at all. Only a court can give you some privileges, but that doesn't mean this court. So I have no authority over your license unless you were if you were in our sobriety court program, then I've got some leeway, but outside of sobriety court, I've got nothing to do with license. A circuit court judge, if you file the petitions, a circuit court judge can order the Secretary of State to give you driving privileges. I'm not a circuit court judge. No matter what your concern is, it doesn't change the reality. I can't give you a license. I put people on probation to change their behavior. I don't want you to have a fourth drinking and driving. Listen to this, Vanessa. I don't care if you're on payments until you're 45. I don't care. Okay? We'll work with you. We'll come up with some other options to close the file out or whatever. So, right? We're here for sentencing, counsel. Your appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Report staff, Neighborhood Defender Service, on P86948. On behalf of Ms. Madison McKee, you say it's not right, Ms. McKee, would you please state your full name? Madison Rose McKee.
Thank you. Go ahead, counsel.
Your Honor, I'm going over the pre-sentence investigation report with Ms. McKee. There are no corrections reported here for that. I believe at this time, the prosecutor did not object to 74, sentencing under 7411. Your Honor stated that you take a look at the assignment of determination and sentencing. I have talked to Ms. McKee. She's also joined with the courtroom by her mother. I've talked about all the conditions of probation. That she can work with probation department to get enrolled into a substance abuse treatment program. Ms. McKee, I think since this incident, has made a lot of changes to her life. She's moved back to with her parents. There's no alcohol in the house when she's at her mother's house. Her license was temporarily suspended, so right now she's doing dog sitting for people, family, friends that she she's formally taken a CNA course. Once this is concluded, she's going to try to get a certificate. Okay. So that she can look at enrollment. But she's willing to participate in substance abuse treatment. She has a strong environment. Her mother reports that she's taken a lot of steps to change the folks and the groups of people that she's hanging around. And that house that she's currently living in is a substance-free area. I would ask this court to follow the recommendation 12 months probation under 7411 and ask the court to continue waiving any discretionary costs or fines. As Ms. McKee isn't working now, but we want her to focus on her CNA, getting CNA certified.
Right. So are you currently on Woodland Boulevard? Yes. That's mom's address? Okay. Prior to the July 19, 2025 incident, had you ever been arrested for anything? Never, no misdemeanors at all? What was your GPA at Erie?
I'm not sure. In high school, is that your judge?
Okay. All right. So in my experience, when I ask a kid what their GPA is and they can't tell me, it's because it should have been higher than it was. Does that apply to you? Could you have done better than you did in high school? Yeah. What held you back?
During COVID, remember online.
We killed you guys. Yeah. 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 Have you had a job ever? Where have you worked? What is that? What is it? Okay. Hence the CNA interest. Go ahead. Okay. 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 Any objections if we take the count one under 7411? When's she eligible for a license?
I believe they
So coming up. Okay. So you should be working by end of June, right? Well, let's put it this way. You'll be working somewhere by the end of June. Okay? Even if it's not the job you want, get a job. Sounds like the jobs you've had, you haven't done a lot of interviewing. Am I right? Okay. So here's what you don't want. You don't want the interviewer to say, "What are you doing now?" and say, "Looking for work." What you want to be able to say is, "I'm doing this. I work here. These are my hours. This is what I do. But what I really want to do is get into this field. That's why I'm applying with you." Because it's easier for an employer to take a chance on somebody that's already working than somebody that's not working, because the biggest problem all employers have now is giving somebody a job and they never show up. Okay. So even though you might have in your mind the job you want, get a job. As soon as you can get to the job, I don't care if it's Wendy's, get a job. All right. For as many hours as they'll give you while you look for the job that's starting your career. Okay. All right. So on count one, I will do this under a delayed sentence for 12 months. I'm going to adopt in full the recommendations. Mom, normally I'm going to order work program on a file like files like these instead of jail time, but sounds like you're the transportation right now. Are you working every day? Okay. She was working for you at the time. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. You were probably mad at her at the time, weren't you? Yeah. 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 Well, I don't want her to get a job that you got to drive her to, though. Right? But I mean, if there's some place you can get, even if it's a crappy job for 10 hours a week, if there's a job you can get close to home, get it. Because then when you go to look at the other job and they say, "Why are you only working 10 hours a week?" Because that's the only job I could get that I could walk to. Now, what are you telling them? You want to work, right? You want to work. Okay. You'll have your license by the end of May, right? All right, so here's what we're going to do. On each of these files, one's going to be delayed sentence, one's just going to be straight probation. On each of these files, 12 months, you're under my thumb. Okay? I'm adopting in full the recommendations. On each of these files, you owe me 5 days on the work program. I'm okay with you scheduling that after you get your driving privileges reinstated. Okay? Now, if you get a chance for the job and the work program hasn't been done yet and it's causing you a problem, come back and talk to me and we'll look at that. Okay? I'm not making you any promises right now, other than the fact that I'll listen to what you've got to tell me. I'm going to tell you right now, if you come to me and you say, "I haven't done my 10 days and I haven't done any of my 10 days, but I want you to convert that to community service hours because of this job," I'm going to tell you no. So get some done. And then if they're standing, your schedule standing in the way of the good job, then we'll talk. Understood? All right. On each of these files, I'm going to give you a break on the money. I'll tell you what, I will suspend fines and costs on count one. Comply with all the terms that I just told you about, the ones you went over with Ms. Scott. You comply with all those terms, do your 5 days, and I won't charge any money on that file at all. On the impaired driving, recommendations are followed in full, 5 days on the work program on that file, and fines and costs are $1,200. Go downstairs and we'll talk about options down there. I will work with you forever on money as long as you're doing everything else you're supposed to be doing. And I mean literally forever. I don't care if it's like $50 a month. I don't care. Money is not my concern. Changed behaviors is my concern. Got it? Any questions? You go give your mother a big hug. I'm serious as a heart attack. Because that was firing you was one of the hardest things she ever had to do. Probably one of the best things you ever did too. All right. So listen to your mother. All right. So you listen to your mother, you communicate with Mr. Rowley, and we'll be all right. We'll get you to the end of this probation with no problem. All right, thank you, counsel. Have a good day, ladies. How many bodies out there, Jamie?
I'll find out what we got.
Our success rate on these show causes it's got to be less than 20%.
Well, that's the thing, if they're not showing up for a work program, show up.
Yeah.
Up to show more, and then they can get picked up on more.
Right. This should be a slamming day. The sentencing's already been showing up on time.
Did I need your violation? We have one violation. Is that Davis? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, oh, I was sure mine too. She was like, oh yeah, she got both. Yeah, she did check and stuff. Yeah.
I mean,
She was.
last name, well,
Yeah.
is that at 9 a.m.?
It's not.
Wait, engagement.
Well, she's in the other day on the phone.
Ah.
She's in Zoom like Patton. I said that. I was like,
That's what the whole,
If she's not here on Zoom though,
I don't think so.
then have them see boat interpret Graziano. It's at MIDC, so just let them.
Yeah, well, wait, I didn't know, I thought she was waiting for her to physically show up.
I don't know, she wasn't approved to Zoom,
Yeah.
but she's on Zoom and theirs, and they have a full docket.
All right, let me,
Work your magic, Jamie.
yes, ma'am.
Um, she's just one of these, but I can't talk about.
That's the business of Johnson. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
They just don't need some.
All right.
I would really.
It's supposed to be entry level.
In the other picture, they thought that when you said, did you get your license, they thought driver's licenses well not.
Yeah, but they didn't know the kind of file it was.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked him, why did you come back? And when he said, get my dog under control and get my license, I thought he was talking about his dog license. So did she tell you that a couple of them are planning a road trip to come see us?
The one.
One of them's got surgery in the fall, so she can be off work for a couple of weeks.
Bring donuts.
It'll be a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday because they want to see Joe's hair.
Deleted somebody. You know what I should know is that next thing you do, the works, and he's clean some allergies.
I didn't.
Detroit, at least they have and stuff, and I just.
Still up there? Bye.
Yeah, no, her stuff.
So I can't find it.
Just what she was saying was just, and then asking for both sides of her job on Jackson Street and I think we missed a Sunday.
You know who this is, Jamie?
Judge, there's a button that says.
Last name, sir?
Message.
Shamari. Shamari.
Yes. Oh, later.
Yeah.
Later.
Your Honor, she's scheduled for sentencing and by.
And violation. Yep, I got both files. All right, counsel on Shimmery. Your appearance.
John Graziani, appearing on behalf of Ms. Shimmery for this sentencing and the violation of probation.
Which one you want to talk about first?
Judge, I'd like to talk about the sentencing. The reason being is I think all this could be tied in at this time. We have, no problems with the, from your honor and staff. She's in a position to be doing that, although it would take a good deal of time on the court work program because she does have, she's helping to raise
Okay.
an daughter, and she's also trying to get back into the workforce because of what's happened, Chuck.
Okay. How old's your son?
My
Doc-
Daughter. How old's your daughter? Okay. Where at?
For a logistics company.
Where?
For a logistics company.
Okay, where they at?
They're in Dearborn. They're based
Okay.
in Dearborn. See where it is near, so then it would just, analysts and cousins.
Okay. Good luck. All right, go ahead, counsel.
Bit of background.
Mhm.
She did have some exceptions to with what was stated. She felt, I don't know if there was a mix-up within the system, but she felt she was in a position to go back to her mother's residence in Van Buren Township. And it was an
All right, hold on. Now we're on the violation part. Let's do one file at a time.
with regard to the
Let's do one at a time.
sentencing,
Yep.
that you got this recommendation.
Okay.
Allow her to move on with.
Okay. All right. So how come you haven't worked for a year? How come you haven't worked for a year?
No, I went last in November and I wanted to go to rehab because I've been asking my family for help because I didn't go postpartum and I was doing everything on my own and I was just wore out and I was finding that my drinking was becoming a problem before my wife and they thought, they thought that I could get through it and then it got to a point where they eventually realized, so I testified to go to rehab and watch my daughter. And so when I went, I think to watch my daughter, I moved back home with them just to get a break. And when I came back, it was just she's. I don't want to put blame on anybody. It's just been a difficult relationship with my mother. I love her dearly, but
It's a very toxic relationship, Judge.
So did you go to rehab? Where? Good.
Transitional doing their AAs and working with the chairman and everything.
Do they do transitional housing?
Do transitional housing, but I am in housing right now. I'm living with my boyfriend.
Okay. All right. So you're out of mom's house.
No, but when they arrested me, they didn't.
All right. So
When they arrested me,
hold on just a minute. Hold on. I got Cross Street and Woodbury. Which one's a good address?
where I moved out, my parents moved my stuff out.
Right.
So when she saw the.
Okay. I just asked you which one's a good address, Cross or Woodbury or neither. Okay. All right. So we'll fix the computer on that. All right. So you did rehab. How long have you been clean?
And that's something very new. I saw somebody do it one time. I tried it stupidly, I was embarrassed, didn't say no. Cause I stopped drinking. I've been clean since January 1st, but I'm not a daily drinker. It was when I was alone, apart from my daughter, and I was having a difficult time getting my daughter back from my mom.
Okay.
So
Judge, the record should also reflect that Ms. Shimmery did spend, I believe, 55 to 58 days in the Wayne County Jail. And explain that.
yeah,
For one of these files or something else?
so
That's not what I asked you. One of these files or something else?
Yes.
Okay. Was it which one? The domestic violence file?
violation for the.
Okay.
So the case was the police station didn't have record of the no of contact.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it said there was no context related.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't know, I'm a little confused what I.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just want
Right.
to be honest, so now there's no contact, that's what I'm put on.
Okay.
Put on for.
So once again, we're getting into the other file. Let's get back to the drinking and driving file. So anything else you want to tell me before I sentence you on that file?
Which
The drinking and driving file.
I was being pressured, to go to work and I was turning around, not even, 0.2 miles away from my house, and I turned around and, to go back home because I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't gonna risk it, and when I was at the gas station, going back to go back home,
Mhm.
I was full.
Good.
It was literally, I threw off in this season.
All right. Anything else before I sentence?
Judge show mercy, she does have a tremendous work ethic, she's worked, for 20 years. And, Ms. Shimmery is asked regarding licensing sanctions. I've indicated to her since October of 1999. It's, in the purview of the Secretary of State, so Judge Oakley is not in a position.
Yeah.
Recommendations as to.
And the state is telling me that it's up to you,
It doesn't make any sense.
and so I.
They might have told you only a court can give you some privileges, but that doesn't mean this court. So I have no authority over your license unless you were if you were in our sobriety court program, then I've got some leeway, but outside of sobriety court, I've got nothing to do with licensing.
Judge, based upon,
A circuit court judge, if you file the petitions, a circuit court judge can order the Secretary of State to give you driving privileges. I'm not a circuit court judge. It doesn't matter what your concern is. It doesn't change the reality. I can't give you a license.
what's happened is I don't believe there's gonna be any significant issue because of the fact that she received her first operating on period in 2007 and then recently, in
19.
19.
Right. Right.
She's got work ahead of her, Judge, and again, we're just asking for mercy.
Yeah. So as to your license, I'll tell you this, when you are eligible to get your to ask for driving privileges to be restored, hire an attorney. Because I've seen too many people, they try to do it on their own and they waste time. If you hire an attorney that does a lot of license restorations, they get all your ducks in a row so that when you go in for the hearing, you walk out with something. All right, so just put that in the back of your head. So when it's time for you, when you're eligible to ask, you ask with the help of an attorney. All right? I don't know when that is. I don't pay any attention to that because it's completely out of my ball. It's not in my ballywick at all.
Judge, to cover my stuff
Yeah.
and Ms. Shimmery, I would ask if in fact she is eligible. To me, it appears that she is eligible based upon the time frame in which these unfortunate incidents took place, but she's, if in the event she does need some help, if she could participate in the sobriety court because of the fact that it would enhance her opportunity to, go to and from work. And
Did you give that any thought when you did the assessment?
Yes, however, with the new domestic violence offense, I don't know that she would be able.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a pending case now?
Cases.
Just the one I've got up today. Right. Right. Okay. All right. Anything else before I sentence?
she did the anger management during the share house program, Judge. In fact, she participated. Although she would.
Okay. For the third time, now we're talking about the domestic violence file again. The drunk driving is what I'm trying to get done with. Is there anything else before I sentence on the drunk driving? Because there's no anger management component to that charge. Okay. All right. So let me tell you what I'm hearing from you. What I'm hearing from you is somebody that doesn't think they've got an alcohol issue.
No, not.
Okay. 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 All right.
And that's why I'm being so.
No, that's all right. I want to hear what you got to say. Go ahead.
The outpatient substance abuse counseling.
You're doing that now?
I'm sorry, it was Hagera, which is Buchanan. And I also working with the chairman, and it was I met up with Share House, I went to Share House. So I'm doing their transition meetings with them as well.
What's that look like? How often? With Share House? Okay. Live meetings?
5 weeks.
Okay. 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 So you're doing Share House meetings every day?
Covering coach to Share House.
Okay.
So yes, it became a problem. It was later in life.
Mhm.
I believe it started from my postpartum. It's nothing that was, that yes, it.
Okay. You probably don't have documentation on all that stuff she just told us about. Okay. If you,
If I may,
hold on a minute. Just hold on a minute. If you have all that, would that change your recommendation about inpatient or outpatient? Intensive?
I mean, I have to review the paperwork.
Right.
To see what type of treatment she's in, but
Yeah. So here's where I'm going. Her recommendation, and I was completely ready to follow, was intensive outpatient or inpatient. Because as much as you will probably want to get back to work, my first concern is I want to make sure that the substance abuse has been dealt with effectively before you start trying to work. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that door open. Okay. After Ms. Trolley has a chance to review what you've got, probably reach out to the share house and just confirm everything you're doing. Then we'll take a look at whether or not continuing those courses of treatment are enough for us or if we want more. Understood?
I have.
Okay. You're going to share those with her. But you're not going to get an answer today. I'm going to give her a chance to review everything, reach out, ask questions if she has to. So, I'm just gonna order today substance abuse treatment. Just leave it there. Okay. We'll let you know whether or not I'm thinking more is needed than what you're currently doing. And at that point, it'll be up to you if you want to have another hearing and Mr. Graziani can be here. That's up to you. I got no problem either way. Or I'm going to say, Ms. Trolley's checked it all out and we're okay with you just continuing the share house program. Okay. And Hager. Okay. So it's either option A, option B. Understood? Okay. All right. So other than that, on the drinking and driving file, I'm adopting in full the recommendations that Mr. Graziati went over with you. That was items 1 through 11. That includes the work program days. I'm going to suggest that you schedule those work program days ASAP to try to bang them all out before they start impeding other things you need to do. Okay? On the money, fines and costs on that file are $1,300. I'm going to send you downstairs to talk about payment options downstairs. I don't think you were in here when I mentioned it earlier. When I put somebody on probation, it's not a punishment. It's because that's the best way I know to effectuate a change in behavior. So I'm not punishing you with what I'm trying to do. So for example, the 10 days on the work program, that's an alternative to jail, right? Jail, work program, money, those are all punishments. The other stuff we give you to do, like the substance abuse treatment and everything else, that's to effectuate a change in behavior. All right? Okay. So what that means is if you go into this whole process with the mindset, this is for me, what do I have to do to get something out of it? She becomes your new best friend. Because if you're having problems complying, you're going to reach out to her and you're going to say, this is what I'm trying. This is where I'm running into problems. How do we fix it together? Because her job is not to come to me and say, Judge, put her in jail. Her job is to come to me and say, Judge, she's doing great. Can we close her out early? That's what makes her tail wag. Okay? All right. So I think that takes care of everything on that file. Did I miss anything on that one, Mr. Rowley? Did I miss anything on that file? I think we're good on that one. Okay, so now let's move on to the other file. Oh, hold on a minute. Oh, you also owe us money on a disorderly person ticket from Van Buren Township last year. So when you go downstairs to talk about options to pay on this one, just make sure you roll it into one, whatever you do, one plan or whatever. Okay? Don't forget that's out there. All right, so on the other file, which is the incident date March 4, 2026, yeah. Domestic violence, that we're here today for violation. Also on that file, I gave her 30 days jail, 30 days credit on the first file. So on this file, so it was back to the house where Van Buren didn't think you were supposed to be back to the house, and then you were huffing there. Right? That's what that whole incident was all about. There are no new charges coming out of there that you know of. Correct? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And then the other violation, I put that in air quotes for the record, is no documentation of anger management or substance abuse evaluation. And that's what you're sitting on now that you're going to share with Ms. Trolley, correct? Yeah, but it covers the anger management. You did that at Share House, right? And obviously they did an evaluation because you're in treatment with them. So I think that's covered. All right. Okay. And this was, let me go back to the original sentencing date. All right, so this was originally a 12-month delayed sentence under 769.4A. I'm okay with just running that to completion, no new charges. All right, I understand the confusion. The huffing blows me away, but you're dealing with that with your substance abuse treatment now. So the fact that you were there when you weren't supposed to be there, I'm willing to write that one off. That was a confusion between the police department and you. So that one, that's a mulligan. You know what a mulligan is? Golf term? It's a do-over. I'm giving you grace on that one. So until next March, just no more problems. Okay? Clear?
Yes, Judge.
You look confused.
Are you talking to me, Judge?
Yeah.
No, I'm.
All right. Okay. Okay.
My relationship with them, I guess I'm not allowed to speak.
Yeah.
I have also a relationship with their interest, you know, it is happened, it's an abusive relationship.
Right.
I love my daughter with her, so I don't, you know, I don't wanna keep my daughter away from her, I just don't want her to see the real abuse.
Yeah. So here, you want some advice? If you are fully engaged in the Higuera and Share House programs, then you are literally reinventing yourself. Would you agree with me? Okay. As part of that reinvention, make sure you spend a fair amount of time with your therapist discussing the toxic relationship you have with your mother.
You know,
No. Here's what, there are ways, I mean, is she physically abusive to your daughter? Okay. Yeah, but you're old enough to stand up for yourself, right?
I just, she's bipolar, schizophrenic.
No, my point is if you think there's value to your daughter to have a relationship with her grandmother, then you have to set the boundaries for that.
Judge,
Right?
there's tremendous respect for, you know, the adults, particularly in the hierarchy, the major.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. You're the mama bear now. Where is your first allegiance? To your 5-year-old daughter or to the respect you think you owe your mother? Absolutely. So what I'm telling you is you're in a perfect situation with all this reinvention that's going on with all these professionals that are helping you become you 2.0. You're in a perfect environment to get the assistance you need so that you can set healthy boundaries so that your daughter can still have a relationship with her mother within the boundaries you set. And that's why I'm saying these people will help you build that confidence, right? Because number one is your daughter's safety, bar none. That's number 1, 2, 3, and through 10, right? Yeah. Which your daughter's seeing, which causes trauma on your daughter. So then when your daughter's your age, she's standing in front of somebody wearing a dress like me, right? Because your childhood trauma is a big part of what leads you to make the bad decisions you've been making. Would you agree? So to keep your daughter safe doesn't just mean from physical abuse, right? So you're learning how to do that. And you know what? Say a prayer. Maybe by doing that, you can actually change your mother's behaviors, right? Maybe she wants to have a relationship with your daughter to the point where she'll change the way she does things. We can hope. And if not, then maybe it's just, Mom, what's your daughter's name? London. Mom, London misses you. Can we meet at McDonald's? We're going to get her some fries and spend a little time, just the three of us. Okay? Safe environment. She still gets to see her grandmother, right? But you set the boundaries, not Mom. Because you're the one that's working on reinventing yourself. Unfortunately, your mother hasn't done the work. Right? Okay. Good luck. You're welcome. Good luck. What do you got, Mr. Bowditch? Cleveland, like the city?
Like the city.
Got him here. Come on up.
Hey, Your Honor, for the record, I'm appearing on behalf of and with Mr. Cleveland. Sir, would you tell me the name of the record?
Thank you.
Also, Your Honor, I'm sitting in place of serving a director, Miss Gabe Robinson, who's next door.
Okay.
For information, is it with full permission also, Mr. Cleveland?
Yes, well, not permission.
Technically, he's standing in. Would you agree? Because he was sitting in and then he stood up.
Right.
And have you gentlemen had a chance to go over the report?
You receive it, Your Honor, and find it accurate, we would ask the court to adopt the recommendations. I believe he also reviewed.
All right. Let me see what we got. Looks like this one missed me. I had a pile of files to go through and looks like this one missed me. Let me look it over real quick. References some inpatient programs in Tennessee. When were those?
Like 2000.
So not since this incident. Okay. Okay. All right. Mr. Trolley's recommendation number 6 is inpatient treatment or intensive outpatient. You understand that?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Absolutely, that's help.
All right.
I think of it.
All right. You're currently working at Wayne Industries? What kind of time off they going to give you? If you go to an inpatient program, you're going to lose your job?
But sometimes I can talk to them.
I'm going to suggest that that's not a job that's worth saving.
My health. True.
Well, it's not a $30 an hour job, right? You can do that at Wendy's or Burger King, $16 an hour, right? So, I mean, my point is, you can replace that job. Now, I don't know what your financial situation is. Maybe, going inpatient somewhere means you can't pay your rent, you get kicked out, and, your car note doesn't get paid, and, so you get sober, but you come out and you got nothing. I don't know what your situation is. But I'm looking at a guy that's got 2 drinking and driving charges going back to 18. Right?
Yes.
Your drinking has cost you lots already. Am I right? So what I'm looking at, to me, the situation looks like, okay, it's either you rip the Band-Aid off and fix the problem now, or you keep, the death of 1,000 cuts. You keep in your substance abuse and it keeps costing you, and it costs you here and it costs you there and it costs you there, versus take the big hit now maybe and deal with it. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm not going to order you go to inpatient. I'm going to order intensive outpatient or inpatient. What I'm going to suggest is we do a substance abuse evaluation. Was that ordered? I think just treatment was ordered. Yeah. So I'm going to suggest what we do is we do a substance abuse evaluation, and then you and Ms. Tiroli can have some conversation about what the experts think is your best path towards sobriety. Okay. And then we'll craft the probation order to fit that substance abuse evaluation. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Understand though, if the evaluation comes back that this guy needs inpatient, then I'm going to tell you, you got to do inpatient. All right. So you weren't in here. I put people on probation to change their behavior. I don't want you to have a fourth drinking and driving.
I agree with myself.
Okay. All right. So anything else from either one of you before I sentence on these?
Nothing wrong.
Mr. Cleveland, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. So I'm going to adopt in full the recommendations that you went over with Mr. Bowditch, items 1 through 11. I'm going to put you on you get 2 charges, the impaired driving and the no valid operators. You're on probation on both. You violate on one file, or one count, you violate on the other count. The only thing that is different is I'm going to charge you a certain amount of money on one and a certain amount of money on the other one. All right. Which I'll get to right now. So you're on probation for 12 months. On the impaired driving charge, the fines and costs are $1,500. On the no valid operator license, the fines and costs are $350. I'm going to send you downstairs to talk about payment options on those. Money is the least of my concerns. Okay. If you're doing everything else I want you to do, if you're doing the treatment that evaluation leads to, if you're doing everything else I'm telling you to do, then the money, I'll work with you forever. I mean, I don't listen to this for now. So I don't care if you're on payments until you're 45. I don't care. Okay. We'll work with you. We'll come up with some other options to close the file out or whatever. So get something set up so you can start making some payments, but don't worry about the money. Worry about everything else first. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions? Good. I wish you luck. All right. She's your new best friend. She's going to help you get through probation without problems, but only if you talk to her. And if you got problems, you got to let her know while they're little problems so we can fix them without coming to see me again. All right. If you're willing to do what she's telling you to do, you're going to get through this. All right. Good luck.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome. Oh, you owe us money on some other stuff too. A no proof of insurance from 2016. Yeah, 438. So when you go downstairs to talk about payments on these, just do some kind of global payment plan or whatever. All right. Good luck. You're welcome.
A tense courtroom hearing quickly turned aggressive after a defendant tried explaining why he missed his court work program days. The man claimed he showed up early on a Saturday morning, got confused by the building entrance, and never saw the sign telling participants to report behind the courthouse. At first, the court listened patiently, but once the defendant continued arguing and making excuses, the mood instantly changed. The court sarcastically pointed out that the courthouse doors were automatic sliding doors with no handles at all, openly mocking the defendant's story about pulling on the door trying to get inside. The hearing became even more intense when the defendant complained that missing the Saturday assignment was unfair because it was his first time there. The court immediately fired back with one of the harshest lines of the hearing. "Life's a Shia, and then you die." The court then reminded him that work program was already an alternative to jail and that nobody was entitled to special treatment. When the defendant kept pushing for weekend workdays instead of weekdays, the court completely shut the conversation down and warned him that he now only had 2 choices left: either complete the work program Monday through Friday or serve actual jail time instead. Even though the exchange became aggressive, the court still gave the defendant another opportunity to avoid jail by completing the 4 missed workdays before the end of June. But the final moments of the hearing made it clear that patience had run out and excuses would no longer be accepted if the defendant wanted to stay out of custody.